Welcome back, guys. In this episode, I want to run a little experiment to prove a particular point to you in Photoshop. So let's just head to the tool. Right, so I'm going to open a file. Let's open this file of a man. And as you can see, it's on the background layer, it's locked. I'm going to unlock this. Then I'm going to, just press Control plus T to, kind of transform this. And I'm going to make this very, 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 very small. Okay? I'm going to make this a tiny man. And then I'm going to use the move tool. I'm going to move this upwards. Okay? Then I'm going to press Control T again. I'm going to retransform. And I'm going to make this man big. As you can see, this man's been blurred. And even though, Photoshop should be a smart tool, it should know that, hey, we just resized the same image, we made it smaller and we made it bigger, but you've got pixelation, you've got blurriness. Now, all of us know that when we take an image and we scale it upwards, it will blur, right? It's just, it has to fill in the pixels somehow. It does a little bit of math, but it's not very accurate, as you can see from this image. So how do we prevent this from happening? How do we make sure Photoshop is smart enough so that we stop losing out on this information every time we make something smaller and then bigger? Because many times when you're working on a project, you might want to make something smaller because it doesn't fit in, and then later realize, hey, I need to make this bigger. So the way to do it, and I'm just going to open a new document or open this man all over again. Just going to close this first. Okay, so I'm going to open this again. The way to do it in Photoshop is something called a smart object. Now, smart objects, you should think of it as a wrapper. Whenever you make something, a layer in Photoshop, a smart object, it means you can resize without the worry that, you're going to lose out on information. So the way to make something a smart object in Photoshop is to right click the layer, convert to smart object. And the way to know if you have a smart object or if a layer is a smart object is to look for this small, symbol on the bottom right. As you can see, this is a small symbol on the bottom right. So now when you resize, and I'm going to press Command T to resize, I can make it really small. I'm going to press the Enter key, and then I'm going to make it big again. I'm going to press the Enter key. And as you can see, we have retained the quality of the picture, right? And this is called non-destructive editing. When you edit things and you lose out on the dimensions, when you edit things and you lose out on pixels, it's called destructive editing. This is non-destructive editing, converting things to smart objects. And the only drawback with smart objects is you can't actually change any of the pixels. So I can't go to the brush. I can't open the brush. We'll just make this a blue brush. I can't paint, right? It literally says this smart object must be rasterized before proceeding. Edit contents will no longer be available. Rasterize the smart object. It's asking me. I'm going to say cancel because obviously I don't want to paint over this person. But that's the thing about smart objects. You can't manipulate pixels inside smart objects, but you can edit the entire, layer as a whole. You can make it bigger. You can rotate it. You can do funky things without, particularly damaging pixels. Now, the opposite of a smart object is a rasterized object. Right? So for me to rasterize this, all I have to do is right click on a smart object and click on rasterize layer. And when you rasterize this, it's back to being a normal object that will lose its quality when made smaller and then bigger. Right? So rasterization, I'm going to undo this. Right? Rasterization is the opposite of being a smart object. And when you rasterize something, and I'm going to show you this again, I'm going to rasterize this. Okay. Now I can paint over this man, right? I can do whatever I like. So that's the difference between a smart object and a raster. And you need to know this difference because we will be using a lot of smart objects in the future. And one cool thing you need to understand, and I'm just going to show you this. I'm going to create a new layer, is that when you use the shape tool and you create a shape, let's create a rectangle. By default, this is a smart object. And you can see this on the bottom right. You can see this symbol on the bottom right, the gray symbol. That means it's a smart object, which means I can actually press Command T and make this as big or as small as possible without losing any information, right? Shapes and text too. So I can actually type something, hi, I am Varun, right? Just gonna make this bigger. This is also a smart object. So I can make this as small or as big as possible. And whenever I want to convert any of this into rasters, all I have to do is right click, rasterize type. And in this case, in the rectangle, right click, rasterize layer. So as soon as I rasterize, now I can draw on it. I can do, funny stuff on it. So I can show you, I can actually draw on this, right, in the same layer. Whereas I wouldn't have been able to do that if this was a smart object. So that's that about smart objects and rasterized objects. We will be using a lot of this in the future, and catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.